Arrival and fear, the first thing she felt was cold. Her eyes opened slowly, and everything above her was dark metal. Strange blue lights glowed from the walls. She lay on a hard floor, and her head was heavy, as if she had been sleeping for years. She tried to move, but her hands and feet were heavy too. Chains wrapped around her wrists and ankles. She sat up and looked around. The room was small, just a cage of metal bars and walls. The air was thin and smelled like iron. Outside the bars, she saw shadows moving. Their shapes were not human. Some were tall and thin with long arms. Others had more than 2 legs. Their voices were loud, but not like any language she knew. It sounded like growls mixed with strange music. Her heart beat faster. Where was she? How did she get here? The last thing she remembered was walking home late at night. There had been a bright light in the sky. Then nothing. She pulled at the chains, but they were too strong. She tried to stand and fell back down. The metal was freezing, and her bare feet hurt when she touched it. Then a sound made her jump. A loud click, and a robotic voice spoke from above. Next show begins in 10 minutes. Subject, human. The words echoed in the cell. The shadows outside stopped moving and turned to look at her. For a moment, everything was silent, except for her own breathing. She whispered to herself, "What show? What do they mean?" The robotic voice spoke again, louder this time. "Prepare the subject. Entertainment must begin." A red light flashed above the door to her cage. Then she heard footsteps, heavy, slow, and close. 2 creatures appeared at the door. They were huge, at least twice as tall as her. Their skin was dark and shiny, like stone. Their eyes glowed yellow. One of them opened the door, and the other stepped in. She backed away, but there was no place to go. The wall was cold against her back. The first creature reached down and grabbed the chains on her wrists. Its hand was big enough to cover her whole arm. It pulled her up as if she weighed nothing. "Wait, please, let me go," she cried, but they did not stop. The second creature attached a metal collar around her neck. It locked with a sharp click. The chain on the collar connected to one of the creature's belts. Then, without a word, they dragged her out of the cell. The hallway outside was wide, with glowing floors and more cages on each side. She saw other creatures behind the bars. Some looked human, but most were strange and terrifying. One creature with 3 eyes hissed at her as she passed. Another banged on the bars and shouted words she could not understand. Every step she took, the sound of the chain dragging behind her made her feel weaker. She tried to pull back, but the creatures were too strong. The hallway ended in front of a giant metal door. Above the door was a large screen showing a strange symbol, a circle of stars with claws around it. The creatures stopped and waited. Then the robotic voice spoke again. "Open the gates. The crowd is ready." The door opened with a loud hiss. She shut her eyes against the sudden light. It was so bright it hurt. When she opened them again, she gasped. Before her was a massive arena. It stretched far in all directions, with rows and rows of seats filled with alien spectators. There were thousands of them, shouting and cheering, their voices mixing into one terrifying noise. The floor of the arena glowed with strange patterns. Machines moved slowly in the walls, some with blades, others with claws. Above, huge screens showed her face and the word, "Subject," human, in bright letters. One of the guards pushed her forward. She stumbled into the middle of the arena. The floor felt warm now, as she could see marks of old battles, scratches, burns, and stains. The crowd roared louder as she stood there, alone, chained and shaking. Then a new sound came, deep and smooth, coming from everywhere at once. A hologram appeared above the arena, a tall alien figure, dressed in black and silver, with sharp, cold eyes. It spoke in perfect English. "Welcome, entertainment watchers," it said. "Today's show is special. A rare creature from a distant planet, a human." The crowd screamed with excitement. The figure turned its eyes to her. "Your job is simple," it continued. "Entertain us or perish." Her breath caught in her throat. The floor under her feet began to move. Panels opened, and strange shapes rose from below. Weapons, traps, and something else. Something alive. From a dark tunnel ahead, she heard a low growl. Something big was coming. The alien figure's eyes glowed. "Let the show begin." The crowd erupted into cheers. Her chains fell off suddenly. The creatures behind her stepped back into the shadows, and then she saw it. A huge beast with claws and red eyes charging toward her from the tunnel. Her body froze. The only thought in her mind was, "Run." But there was nowhere to run. The arena, the crowd was screaming. The chains fell from her wrists and clattered to the glowing floor, but she didn't feel free. She only felt smaller. The air in the arena was hot and heavy now, smelling of smoke and metal. In front of her, the tunnel was dark, but she could hear the growling getting louder. It echoed around the whole place, shaking her bones. She took one step back, but the walls behind her were smooth and high. There was no escape. Then she saw it. Out of the black tunnel, something enormous crawled into the light. At first, she thought it was just a shadow. Then two burning red eyes opened, and sharp claws scraped against the floor. The creature was twice as tall as her, with thick black armor on its body and spikes on its back. It sniffed the air, then opened its mouth to reveal rows of shining teeth. Drool dripped onto the floor, burning holes into it where it landed. The alien hologram above smiled. "The human will now entertain us," it said coldly. "Begin." The beast roared and charged. She turned and ran, though she didn't know where. The floor beneath her feet shifted as she moved, like a giant puzzle. Panels rose and sank, making the surface uneven. Bright lights flashed, and walls of fire suddenly shot up around her path. She jumped over a gap just in time as a section of the floor dropped, away into a pit of spinning blades. The beast was faster than it looked. It leaped, and its claws swiped just inches from her back. Sparks flew as its claws hit the metal floor. She tripped and fell hard. Her knees and hands scraped open, but she crawled away just before the beast could grab her. Above her, the crowd roared louder, their strange alien voices chanting something she didn't understand. They were enjoying this. Her breath came fast and shallow. She stumbled to her feet and looked around wildly. That's when she noticed them. Weapons lying in different corners of the arena, but none of them looked like anything she had ever seen. One was a long spear with a glowing blue tip. Another looked like a crossbow made of black glass. A strange shield hovered silently near one wall. The beast roared again and charged. She grabbed the first thing she could, the spear. It was heavier than she expected, but it hummed with energy in her hands. The creature lunged at her, and she ducked under its claws. Without thinking, she thrust the spear forward. A burst of blue light exploded from the tip, sending the beast skidding back with a deep, angry cry. The crowd gasped. She looked down at the spear in shock, but the beast wasn't finished. It shook itself, eyes glowing brighter now, and circled her slowly, snarling. Above them, the alien hologram's voice echoed. "Good, very good. But can you survive the next level?" The floor shifted again. Panels of metal rose high around her, forming a maze. Walls of fire and spinning blades appeared, closing off her paths. And then a second creature appeared. This one was smaller but faster, with long whip-like tails that sparked with electricity. It crawled on the walls and ceiling, its eyes fixed on her. 2 against 1. Her chest tightened. She gripped the spear tighter, but her hands were shaking. She ran into the maze. The walls were hot to the touch. She heard both creatures behind her, one growling, the other hissing, their footsteps loud and terrifying. She turned a corner and almost ran, straight into a trap, spikes shooting up from the floor. At the last second, she rolled to the side. The spear's blue tip lit the dark maze, casting shadows on the walls. Somewhere deep in the arena, a loud buzzer sounded. She stopped, confused, and then she heard a voice, soft, crackling in her ear. "Human, can you hear me?" She froze and looked around. Who is that?" she whispered. "Don't speak. Just listen. Keep moving. Stay alive. When the lights go out, run to the north wall." There's a weak spot, her heart pounded. Who was speaking? Was it real? Or just in her mind? She didn't have time to think. The smaller creature dropped from above, landing right in front of her. Its tails whipped toward her, and she barely blocked them with the spear. Sparks flew, burning her arms. She thrust the spear forward again, but the creature was too fast. It disappeared around a corner. Behind her, the larger beast crashed through a wall of the maze, roaring louder than ever. She ran. Every turn of the maze brought new traps, fire, spikes, swinging blades, but she kept moving. The voice spoke. Again. Almost there. North wall. Don't stop. The lights in the arena began to flicker. The crowd screamed louder, angry now. "She's cheating," someone shouted. "End it," another voice called. The alien hologram appeared again above the arena, its eyes glowing with fury. "Enough," it said. "Finish her now." The creatures charged from opposite sides, but then the lights went out completely. 4. 1 perfect second. Everything was dark. She remembered the voice's words. Run to the north wall. She sprinted, feeling the metal floor under her bare feet. The two creatures crashed into each other behind her, their roars mixing into one. She reached the north wall and saw it, a thin crack glowing faintly in the dark. She pushed. The wall shifted, and a small door opened. She slipped through just as the lights came back on. Behind her, the crowd erupted in anger. The hologram's voice thundered. "Find her. Bring her back." But she was already gone, disappearing into the shadows beyond the arena. She stopped for a moment, leaning against the cold wall of a dark corridor. Her hands were bleeding. Her breath was ragged. But she was still alive. The voice spoke again. Softly, "Good. You made it. Now we fight back." She closed her eyes and whispered, "Yes, we fight." And then she started walking deeper into the darkness, ready for whatever came next. The first fight the corridor was quiet, but not peaceful. The walls were narrow and strange, covered in pulsing blue veins of light. The floor vibrated under her feet, like the ship itself was alive. Every few seconds, a distant sound shook the passage, the roar of the angry crowd above, or the deep hum of alien machines. She walked slowly at first, clutching the spear tightly in both hands. Her knuckles were white. Her heart still raced from the escape, but the voice in her ear was silent now. Where was she supposed to go? Who was the voice? Her bare feet slipped once on the smooth floor. She pressed her back against the wall and listened. Somewhere ahead, she heard soft breathing. Not human. Something heavy and wet. She stepped forward, quiet as she could. Then the voice crackled back to life. "You're close. Good. Listen carefully." She froze, pressing the communicator closer to her ear. "Ahead of you is a control room. If you take it, you can shut down the arena's power. But you won't be alone. Her chest tightened. What's waiting for me? She whispered, Dot. There was a pause. Then the voice answered simply, the first guardian. Before she could ask more, the voice cut out. The first guardian. She kept moving. The corridor opened into a wide, dark chamber. There were no cheering crowds. Here, no lights except for a faint glow coming from strange alien symbols on the floor. Dot. In the center of the room was a huge circular platform, and on it stood something. She stopped, staring. Dot. At first, she thought it was just a statue, tall, armored, unmoving. But then it raised its head. Its face was covered by a black mask. Its arms were long, ending in blades instead of hands. And its chest glowed with a deep red light, like a heart made of fire. Dot. It stepped down from the platform, one slow, heavy foot at a time. The sound of metal scraping filled the room. Then it spoke, its voice deep and hollow, in perfect English. Do not belong here, human, but you have already entertained them. Now you will amuse me. It charged. Dot. She raised the spear just in time. The creature swung one blade arm, and sparks flew as it clashed with the glowing spear tip. The force of the blow threw her to the floor. She rolled away as its second blade slammed into the ground where she'd just been. She scrambled up, her hands and knees burning, and struck back with the spear. The blue light shot forward, hitting the guardian in the chest. For a moment, it stumbled, but then it laughed. Good. You are not weak, but not enough. It raised both arms above its head, and the red light in its chest flared brighter. Blades of energy shot out from its arms, cutting across the floor. She dove behind the pillar just as the floor cracked and sizzled. Where she'd been, her breath came fast and shallow. The spear hummed in her hands like it was alive now. She looked at the strange symbols on the floor and realized they formed a pattern, a circle with gaps, like steps in a dance. She ran onto the circle. Following the pattern. Dot. The guardian swung at her again, but the blade stopped short as it touched one of the glowing lines. The creature growled in frustration. The pattern was a trap. Not for her. For it. Dot. Her mind raced. Maybe if she could lure it fully into the circle. She shouted at it, waving the spear. Come on. You want to amuse yourself? Come and get me. The guardian roared and charged. She backed up, step by step, always keeping inside the glowing pattern. When the guardian finally stepped onto the full circle, the floor beneath it lit up brighter. The red light in its chest flickered. Dot. It stopped and looked down, confused. That was her chance. Dot. She planted the spear into the center of the pattern and twisted it. A flash of blue exploded from the floor, shooting through the guardian's body. Dot. It screamed, a sound like metal tearing apart, and dropped to its knees. She pulled the spear free and struck again, straight into the red light in its chest. This time, the creature fell backward, its mask cracking, and its body turning dark and still. She stood there for a moment, shaking, her chest heaving. Then the room fell silent. Above her, a soft voice spoke again in her ear. Well done, human. You have killed the first guardian. But there are more. She leaned on the spear and whispered, Who are you? The voice didn't answer right away. Then it said, Someone who wants to see you free. But if you want to live, you must keep moving. They already know you're here. As if to prove the words, a loud alarm began to blare through the corridor. Red lights flashed everywhere. Dot. Heavy footsteps echoed from behind her. More were coming. She turned toward the next corridor, gripping the spear tighter. The first guardian lay broken on the floor behind her, but the path ahead was darker, and the sound of claws on metal grew louder. Dot. She ran. The voice whispered once more, The next fight will not be so easy. But if you survive, you might just win this game. She didn't know what game he meant, but her blood was hot now. She wasn't just running to live anymore. She wanted to win. The darkness ahead opened into another chamber, larger, louder, with the sound of chains and machines waiting for her. She took a deep breath and stepped inside, ready for whatever waited. Asterisk, the mystery ally the chamber was enormous. She stepped in slowly, her breath fogging in the cold air. Unlike the last room, this one was silent, too silent, with only the soft click of her own footsteps echoing back at her. The walls were lined with giant chains, as thick as her arm, hanging down into black pits she couldn't see the bottom. Oaf! Gears turned high above her, grinding metal against metal. And in the center of the chamber, a single chair sat under a beam of white light. A figure was strapped to the chair. She froze. It was a man, a human. His head hung low, his arms bound tightly to the chair with alien cables. Around him, strange machines pulsed and hissed, as if feeding on him. She tightened her grip on the spear and crept closer. His clothes were torn, his skin covered in cuts and burns. But when she got close enough, his head slowly lifted, and she saw his eyes, clear, sharp, alive. He looked at her and smiled faintly. "You're late," he said. She blinked. "What?" "Who are you?" she whispered. His voice was weak but steady. "The one who's been helping you. The voice in your ear." "I didn't think you'd make it this far." Her chest tightened. "You?" "Yes," he said. "I hacked their system from here. Been guiding you. Watching you." He tugged at his chains, and they rattled. "But now," he added bitterly, "I'm out of time." Before she could respond, a loud clang rang through the chamber. Above them, on a high platform, the alien hologram appeared again. But this time, it wasn't a hologram. It was real. The alien stood there in a black cloak, taller than any creature she'd seen yet. Its skin was dark silver, and its eyes glowed white. It spoke, its voice deep and cruel. "You've done well, little human," it said, "better than the others. But here, your journey ends." The man in the chair spat weakly at the aliens. "Feet, you talk too much," the alien sneered. "And you, traitor, feeding her information, breaking my games. You'll both die here." It raised one long clawed hand. Suddenly, the chains on the walls began to move, slithering like snakes, rising from the pits and coiling toward her. She swung the spear, cutting through the first chain, but more came. They struck like whips, wrapping around her legs, arms, neck. The man shouted, "The controls behind me. Break them." She struggled, cutting chain after chain, inching toward the back of the chair. There, on a panel covered in strange alien symbols, a glowing red crystal pulsed. The alien above let out a laugh. "You think you can stop me? That crystal powers everything here. Touch it, and it will burn you alive." But she didn't hesitate. With a roar, she stabbed the spear into the crystal. A blinding blue light exploded through the room. The chains recoiled violently and dropped to the floor. The machines screeched and shut down. Sparks fell from the ceiling. The man fell forward as his restraints dissolved. The alien staggered back, hissing, its cloak catching fire in the blue glow. "You fool!" it screamed. "You don't even know what you've done." The man grabbed her arm, pulling himself up. "We need to move, now." They ran toward a hidden doorway, revealed in the chaos. Behind them. The alien roared, its body shimmering and changing shape, becoming something larger, more monstrous. They didn't look back. The corridor beyond the doorway was narrow and dark, lit only by faint emergency lights. The man leaned heavily on her shoulder as they moved, his breath ragged. "What now?" she asked. He smiled weakly. "Now we finish what we started." But first, he stopped and pressed a hidden panel in the wall. A door slid open to reveal a small room filled with strange weapons, maps and glowing screens. "This," he said, "is our sanctuary and our war room." She looked around in awe. "How long have you been here?" "Too long," he said. He sat down heavily and began typing on one of the consoles. Screens flickered to life, showing images of other humans, some fighting, some captured, some already dead. "I wasn't the first," he explained, "but I'll make sure you're the last." She stared at him. "What do you mean?" He looked at her, his eyes fierce. "This isn't just an arena. It's a farm, a prison. They take humans from your world, test you, break you, and broadcast your pain across the galaxy for sport. But they made one mistake." He leaned closer. "They didn't kill me when they had the chance." The room shook violently. Somewhere far above, the alien's roar shook the walls. The man handed her a strange black blade that shimmered like liquid. "Take it," he said. "You'll need it for what comes next." She took the blade. It felt heavier than the spear, but alive somehow, pulsing faintly in her grip. "What's next?" she asked. He smiled darkly. "We kill the master of this place, and we free everyone." Before she could answer, an alarm blared through the room. The screens showed the alien leader, now fully monstrous, tearing through walls, hunting them. The man stood up slowly, his legs still weak, but his eyes burning with determination. "Time to stop running," he said. She tightened her grip on the black blade, her jaw set. "Yes," she said. "We fight." The door ahead of them slid open, revealing a massive staircase leading upward, bathed in red light dot above. They could already hear the sound of alien soldiers gathering. Below them, the faint sound of other humans crying out. Waiting to be saved, Dr. Man looked at her one last time. "Ready?" She nodded, her voice steady. "Let's break their game." And together, they stepped into the red-lit stairway, toward their next battle, and whatever nightmare waited at the top. *Rebellion sparks. The staircase rose like a giant spine, twisting upward into shadows. The man and the woman climbed slowly at first, their breathing heavy. The red light pulsed all around them, casting their long shadows on the walls. From above, they could hear alien soldiers marching, claws clicking against the metal steps. From below, faint screams and cries of trapped humans still echoed. Every step, her grip on the black blade tightened, and with every step, her resolve grew sharper. Halfway up, the man stopped suddenly. He crouched, pressing his hand to the wall, and listened. "They're waiting," he whispered. "They know we're coming." She looked up. Through the gaps in the steps above, she could see movement. Strange armored creatures pacing back and forth, carrying weapons that glowed like fire. "What do we do?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "We light a spark." He reached into his torn jacket and pulled out a small silver disc. Symbols glowed faintly on its surface. "What is it?" she asked. "The only friend we have left," he said. He pressed the disc to the wall, and it sank in with a hiss. For a second, nothing happened. Then the walls shook violently, and a deep, rhythmic thumping began. Like a giant heartbeat far below, she heard doors slamming open. Metal grated. Alarms wailed louder than ever before. "What did you do?" she shouted over the noise. The man grinned. "I woke them up." From the depths of the arena, cages broke open. Doors to hidden cells unlocked, and humans, dozens maybe. Hundreds began pouring out. The screens high on the walls flickered, showing chaos all over the ship. Prisoners running, guards overwhelmed, fire spreading. "Rebellion," the man said simply. Then, from above, a loud metallic roar cut through the air. The alien leader stood at the top of the staircase now, fully transformed, its body massive, and shimmering with spikes of metal and dark energy. Its white eyes burned like stars. "You think you can win?" The alien boomed. "You think you can free them?" "This is my world. My game. Around it, dozens of armored alien soldiers aimed their weapons at the humans below. The man looked at her and nodded once. "Let's end this," he said. She didn't wait. She charged. The blade in her hand pulsed brighter now, humming with energy. As she ran up the final steps, the alien soldiers opened fire, beams of red slicing through the air. But something strange happened. The blade seemed to drink the energy, its surface glowing hotter with every strike. She leaped onto the platform. Swinging the blade in a wide arc dot, it cut through the first alien soldier like paper. Behind her, the man followed, picking up one of the enemy's weapons and firing into the crowd dot from below. The freed humans began to climb the staircase too, some armed with spears and chains, others with nothing but their fists. The alien leader roared and swung one massive claw at her dot. She ducked, rolled, and sliced at its leg. Sparks flew, and black liquid spilled onto the metal floor. "You dare harm me?" the alien hissed. She stood, face to face with it now, and whispered, "You dared to take us." It lunged, faster than she expected, and slammed her into the wall. Blade fell from her hand. Pain shot through her body, but she didn't close her eyes, because below, she could still see them. All the other humans fighting, rising, refusing to bow anymore. Her eyes locked on the blade lying on the floor between them dot with all her strength. She kicked herself free, rolled across the platform, and grabbed it. This time, the blade shone so bright it hurt to look at. She stood tall, black blade raised high, and charged one last time. The alien swung its claws wildly, but she slipped past, every motion faster and sharper than before. Then she drove the blade deep into the alien's chest. It froze. For a moment, everything went silent. Then a sound like glass shattering filled the air. As cracks spread through its body, it let out a deafening scream. The light in its eyes fading. Then it collapsed. The soldiers stopped moving. The red lights around the ship blinked and turned white. The humans on the staircase cheered, raising their fists and weapons. The man stepped up beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he said. She looked around, breathing hard. "No," she said quietly. "We did it." Below them, humans were helping each other, pulling the wounded to safety. Some were even taking control of alien consoles, shutting down security doors and freeing more prisoners. But as she stood there, something caught her eye. On one of the still working screens above, a message began to scroll in alien script, then translated into English. "Primary host defeated. Signal sent to outer rings. Reinforcements inbound. Time 10 minutes. Her blood ran cold. "They're coming," she whispered. The man read the message too and nodded grimly. "This was just the first battle," he said. Then he looked at her with fire in his eyes. "But we're not running anymore. Let them come." She tightened her grip on the black blade, staring at the screen. For the first time since she woke up in that cell, she didn't feel like prey anymore. She felt like a hunter. And when the reinforcements arrived, she promised herself they would learn what humans were really capable of. Below, the rebellion spread like fire through the ship. Above, the stars waited, and so did the next fight. Asterisk breaking the chains, the ship shook. Far above, in the blackness of space, giant alien warships moved closer, their weapons glowing faintly like red stars. The message on the screen kept flashing. Reinforcements inbound. Time remaining, 8:52. The humans stood in the wreckage of the arena, their clothes torn, their hands dirty, but their eyes bright. They were no longer prisoners. They were soldiers now. The woman stood at the front of them, black blade in hand, its surface still glowing faintly from the alien leader's blood. Beside her, the man leaned on a captured rifle, his jaw set with quiet determination. "They'll hit us hard," he said. "We have less than 9 minutes." She looked up at The ceiling where the faint outlines of enemy ships flickered through cracks in the hull. "How many of us can fight?" she asked. He glanced around at the freed humans gathering weapons from the dead alien soldiers. "Not enough," he admitted, "but enough to hurt them before we go down." Her grip on the blade tightened. "No," she said, "not to hurt them. To end this." The man raised an eyebrow. "End it how?" "We don't even know where their command center is." But she wasn't looking at him anymore. Her eyes were fixed on a strange, massive door on the far side of the arena. A door she hadn't noticed before. It was carved with alien symbols, and faint golden light leaked through its cracks. "What's that?" she asked. The man followed her gaze. And for the first time since she'd met him, he looked afraid. "That," he whispered, "is the core?" "The core?" she repeated. He nodded slowly. "This entire ship, this entire game, runs because of the core. It's alive, just like everything else here. It powers their weapons, their soldiers, their chains." She stared at the door. "What happens if we break it?" she asked. The man's lips curled into a dark smile. "They burn." The humans behind them had gathered now, quiet, waiting. She turned to them and raised her voice. "This ends now," she shouted. "They think we're weak, that we're here to entertain them, that we'll just die quietly. But look at them." She gestured to the alien bodies scattered across the floor. "They bleed like we bleed. They die like we die." Her blade pulsed brighter. "They came for a show," she said. "Let's give them one." The humans roared in response. And they charged toward the core. The door fought back. As she approached, massive chains shot out of the walls, snapping like whips. Blades unfolded from the ceiling, swinging wildly. One by one, the humans cut through them, pushing forward. Her blade seemed to drink the light from the room now, slicing through chains, cutting down the alien machines, trying to stop them. Closer she got, the louder the ship screamed, a deep, inhuman sound, like metal being torn apart. Then the reinforcements arrived. From the tunnels above and below, waves of alien soldiers poured in, larger and faster than before, their weapons glowing red-hot. The humans didn't stop. They met the aliens head-on, fighting with spears, stolen rifles, and bare hands. Behind her, she heard screams and gunfire. But she didn't look back. Her eyes were locked on the core. When she finally reached the door, she slammed the black blade into it. The door cracked, but didn't open. She struck again and again. Each time sparks flew, and the golden light grew brighter. The alien leader's voice echoed through the ship now, furious and desperate. "Stop! Stop this now! Do you know what you're doing?" She shouted back, her voice raw. "Yes, I'm breaking your chains." One final strike, and the door shattered. The light inside the core was blinding. She stepped into a chamber that felt like the heart of a sun. The walls were alive, pulsing with golden veins. At the center was a massive floating crystal, spinning slowly, chained by glowing tendrils of energy. It was beautiful. And it was alive. As she approached, it seemed to see her. A voice, not hers, not human, whispered into her mind, "Child of Earth, you are not ready." But she ignored it. She raised the blade, and the crystal flared, trying to blind her, trying to burn her alive. Her hands shook, but she tightened her grip and shouted, "Then make me ready." And she drove the blade into the heart of the core. Room exploded with light. She felt herself lifted off her feet, floating in the golden glow as the ship screamed around her. Chains snapped. Machines shattered. Everywhere on the ship, humans felt it, their collars unlocked, their cages opened. The alien soldiers froze, their weapons going dark. The humans roared in triumph, and the alien leader, wherever it was hiding, howled in agony as its empire began to crumble. When the light faded, she was lying on the floor of the core chamber, the black blade still in her hand, but now it glowed gold. The man stumbled in, his face streaked with blood and dust. He looked around in awe. "You did it," he whispered, but she shook her head slowly, her eyes still fixed on the broken core. "No," she said softly, and she pointed upward through the cracked ceiling, where the alien warships still waited, their weapons aimed at the humans below. "This isn't over." The man followed her gaze dot above them. The enemy ships began to move closer, blocking out the stars. One final message flashed across the ruined walls of the arena. "Warning, outer fleet arriving." 059. She stood, her blade glowing brighter than ever, and turned to the humans gathering behind her. "Then let's finish it," she said. They raised their weapons, battered but unbroken, and followed her toward the final battle dot, and somewhere deep in the ship, a faint whisper still lingered, the voice of the core echoing in her mind. "If you break us, they will fear you." Her eyes narrowed. "Good," she whispered back. "Let them take me?" Before I'm broken. The humans stood under the shattered dome of the arena, staring up at the sky dot. It was no longer black. The alien fleet had arrived, hundreds of massive warships blotting out the stars, their red lights glowing like angry eyes. The ground shook as their engines roared. The message flashed again on the ruined walls. Outer fleet engaged. Resistance detected. Commence total eradication. The woman gripped her golden blade tighter, feeling its strange energy hum in her hands. Beside her, the man loaded his stolen rifle, his face grim. Behind them, dozens of humans, wounded, bloodied, but still alive, gathered what weapons they could dot. No more cages. No more chains dot, but now the enemy was coming to destroy them all dot above. One of the alien warships began charging its main weapon, a beam of light so bright it turned night into day. She squinted into the light, her jaw tight. "They're going to erase this whole place," the man said. "They'll erase us," she corrected, "and everyone watching." She remembered the alien's words. "My world, my game." She glanced around at the broken arena. Not anymore. Her blade pulsed brighter, gold light spilling across the floor. Then a voice, not the man's, not human. The core. "They watch still. They hunger still. They wait to see if you will break, or if you will break them." She closed her eyes, feeling the power rising from the shattered core deep below. The humans around her stared as her blade began to glow so bright they had to shield their eyes. The man touched her shoulder. "What are you doing?" he asked. She opened her eyes. "They came for a show," she said softly. Her voice was steady now, calm, but her eyes burned. "Let's give them an ending they'll never forget." The ships above began to fire. Red beams screamed toward the surface, carving massive scars into the metal ground. But she didn't run. Instead, she walked forward, toward the center of the arena, raising the blade high. The golden light shot up, slamming into the sky like a pillar of fire. The first beam from the alien fleet struck the light, and shattered sparks rained down as the sky itself seemed to split. On the alien warships, creatures hissed and panicked as their controls flickered. And died. The humans gasped. The man stared at her in awe. What are you?" he breathed. She didn't answer, because something was happening. The golden light grew hotter, brighter, spinning around her like a storm. Her feet lifted off the ground. Her hair whipped around her face as if caught in some invisible wind. Her voice echoed across the arena, across the ship, across the stars. "I am not your prey." One of the warships began to break apart. Another spun out of control, crashing into a third. The alien soldiers on the ground dropped their weapons, and fled into the shadows. And yet, the power kept building, Dot. She could feel it in her bones now. Like fire and ice running through her veins, Dot, it hurt. Every heartbeat was heavier. Harder got the core's whisper came again. Careful, child. This power, it does not come without cost. She gritted her teeth. I know, she whispered. Her hands shook violently, the blade threatening to burn her alive. Dot, the man stepped forward, his face full of fear. You'll kill yourself. He shouted. Dot. She glanced at him, her eyes glowing gold now, and managed a faint smile. Take me, she said softly. He froze. What? Her smile faded. Take me, she repeated, her voice breaking for the first time. Take me, before I'm broken. The man reached for her, but it was already too late. With a final cry, she raised the blade one last time and drove it into the ground. The arena exploded. Blinding light swallowed everything. Above, the alien fleet shattered. Ship by ship, as though torn apart by invisible hands. The Watchers, wherever they were, felt it too. Across the galaxy, screens went black. A game ended. When the light finally faded, the woman lay at the center of the arena, surrounded by silence. The blade lay beside her, cracked but still faintly glowing. The man knelt at her side, his hands trembling. She opened her eyes slowly, her breath shallow. You did it, he said, her lips curled into the smallest smile. No, she whispered. We did it. All around them, humans began to gather, quiet, wide-eyed, looking up at the stars where the alien fleet had once been. There was nothing left now but stars. The man picked up the cracked blade and stood, looking up at the endless sky. She broke their game, he said quietly. The humans behind him murmured in agreement. She broke everything. But the woman only closed her eyes again, her fingers curling weakly around the ground. The core's voice whispered one last time in her mind. They will remember you. The one who broke the chains, the one who made them fear. Her lips moved, though. No sound came out. Let them. Above her, the stars shone brighter than they ever had, Dot, and for the first time in her life, she felt free.